Yo, 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 assalamu alaikum, everybody. How are you guys doing? Really cool collab today. We're going to be calling with 𝐉𝐨𝐥𝐼𝐧 shortly. For those of you that don't know who he is, I'll give a little bit of an introduction when we call too. I see some of you in the chat already know who we're calling with. This guy is a master at exposes, especially with big scammers in the online space. Funnily enough, I'll talk about it a little bit on the call. One of the first programs that I ever bought about 4 years ago when I was just getting started on my entrepreneurial journey was one of those like Forex pyramid schemes. It was called I Am Academy. And what got me out of it, even though I was already seeing red flags and signs, was a video that 𝐉𝐴𝐥𝐼𝐧 made exposing them. So we've been connected for a really long time now. Before I was even SonnyFaz, I ever had the idea for that name. Me and him have been talking and have known each other, and we've both been coming up in that period. So it's really cool to connect and be able to talk and share this collab with you guys. I see some of you in the chat know who he is already. Shout out everyone in here, Clay, Fax, Norsh. We're going to be getting into some really interesting stuff about some people he's exposed, specifically this episode, PBD. I'm sick of his yapping. I'm sick of his talking. So we're going to lay it all out in one stream and just absolutely cook for you guys. But how's everyone doing in the chat? It's good to see all you. Farad, Clay, Fax, Norsh, Moat. The first pyramid scheme I experienced was 𝐉𝐴𝐥𝐼𝐧, the energy drink product. Yeah, feel free to like super chat any questions. If I missed any, ask in the chat. I'll definitely be able to take some questions from you guys to ask him too, especially if you've had any experience with any of the stuff that he's exposed before. But it should be interesting. I'm excited to hear it. Like I haven't watched too much of his stuff on PBD. I kind of want to learn it live and be able to just ask raw, authentic questions. So yeah, let me shoot him a call. I'm going to probably do the same intro I just did, but let's... Can you guys hear me all right? Drop a one if you can hear me good. Late night stream with 𝐶NICO in Discord. Oh, you were there for that? It was good, right? Unfazed. It's not too good for clips, but it was good. Marco! Can you guys hear me all right in the chat? I'll turn the sound up a bit for you guys if it's a little bit low. I can hear you perfectly clear. Can you guys hear Marco good before we get started with everything? Drop a W if you can hear Marco good. Yes. Beautiful. We can see you loud and clear. That's a nice room you got there, bro. You built that yourself? That's funny. No, they said they can't hear him? 1 second. Good thing we checked. Let me call my producer. Bro, every single time, man. Let me see. Yo, they can't hear Marco. Yeah, but it's showing up. Can you talk one second? It's showing up on the Discord. Oh, wait, try talking. I had to hit it on the soundboard, the red button.
Yep. Test.
They should be able to hear him now. And
all right.
Al, real quick, the sound's low, bro. Like, can you check that? Where's that setting? Like the voice thing. Do you want to just remote log in and do it real quick? Just 1 second, and we'll be good to go. Oh, bro, with streaming, there's so many little technical things. And it's like weird random settings always reset.
No, I understand. That happens to me almost every stream, and I've been doing this for 7 years. So
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But that's okay. That's okay. We're gonna edit all this out anyways.
Yeah, it's fine. That's the nice thing about
Yeah,
streaming is like it's basically just recording videos live. They just get to see how it actually is with filming anything. You want to get
that's
into
right.
content, get ready for headaches. You know, it's just the way it goes.
Oh yeah, especially live.
Yeah,
Live. If you're just recording yourself, there's no problem. But you know,
yeah.
live, you got to deal with it.
Really makes you appreciate like sports broadcast and stuff with all the different transitions and camera angles they have. It's like a live
True.
stream, but just ultra professional.
Very true. I'm gonna share also in my Discord right now that I'm.
Perfect. So we'll probably post this on YouTube after, and then we could just like collab your channel as well, or
Sure, sure.
whatever you're thinking. Marco unmuted, but they said the sound is still low, Al.
Is that mine? Do I got to turn me up?
No, you sound fine for me. And Al, it's going up to yellow on OBS. Like it shouldn't be low, bro. Like you see when I'm talking, it's going to yellow. It'll even maybe hit red. Yo, is that better, guys?
Test, test.
Sounds good to you? All right. We can fix it in post, whatever. Can you speak for a second?
Test, test, test. 1 2 1 2. Testing, testing.
Is it good, Al?
Let me listen on YouTube as well. It sounds good on YouTube. I'm watching your stream on YouTube.
All right, then we should be good to go. All right, bismillah. All right. Marco, funnily enough, bro, me and you have been connected for about like 4 or 5 years now.
That's right.
Before I ever even started SonnyFaz, YouTube, or anything, the first pyramid scheme that I joined was 𝐼𝐴M and it was your video that got me out of that, funnily.
That's awesome. I'm proud. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud to see that you've taken on this content journey and that you've grown something something awesome. So congrats to you on that.
No, thank you, bro. For those of you that don't know, Marco is a legend in the documentary and expose space. Countless different pyramid schemes, academies, gurus. He's exposed them all, faced countless lawsuits, you know, people doxing your home. I'm sure a lot of personal issues that you've had to face. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that. And then in this episode, I really want to cover PBD, bro. I'm really sick of a lot of the rhetoric that he's pushing online, you know, constantly trying to be divisive. Meanwhile, his whole business is built upon being a scammer. His whole empire is made out of poop, cacagiol, as we would say in Italian.
Right.
Having people like Benjamin Netanyahu on his podcast. Like, it's just, the guy needs to get exposed. You've already done a great job at it. So I just want to cover a little bit in this episode too. And I don't know too much. I know you know a lot more than I do. But yeah, like real quick, like what got you into the documentary space with like exposing these people, and just like what kind of backlash have you faced since you even started?
Yeah, well, it actually started in 2019 was when I put out my first like pyramid scheme hidden camera expose video, and it was with a company called World Financial Group. Maybe some of your viewers have heard of it. And it's sort of a financial services marketing company where they basically middleman financial services. So you're looking for an insurance policy, for example, life insurance, rather than going directly to the company, you're getting one of these World Financial Group salespeople effectively to sell it to you. And you mentioned PBD. He actually got his start in this company. And as far as we can tell, that's where he got the idea for his multi-level marketing company called PHP. They're virtually identical when you look at the compensation plan and what they actually offer. And back in 2015, I think I'm a bit older than you. I graduated high school 2014. And in 2015, my high school best friend joined this company as an agent, and it seemed totally reasonable that he's doing this financial services company because I always knew him to be a very smart math guy, numbers guy, right? So when he told me that he was part of this financial services company, it made sense to me. You know, it sounded believable. And then I come to find out that there's this other profit mechanism with the company aside from just selling insurance policies, whereby you can recruit people who paid to join who then recruit people who pay to join, who then recruit people who pay to join. And there's bonus incentives all the way up the ladder that when you actually look at it, it makes a lot more sense to be trying to push the recruitment, in my estimation, than to actually be going out there in the world and trying to sell insurance, life insurance policies, especially imagine as a 19-year-old kid, how
Mm.
successful do you think you're going to be doing that? So when he had invited me to a meeting to go check out this company, and we're both 19 years old, and even though I had very little real world experience, you would say, I just smelled BS. I don't know if I can curse on your platform, but I'm just being safe for now. I just smelled BS. And it was just one guy after another. Oh, I came to this country. I grew up on a dirt floor in Mexico and I had $10 and now I drive a Lamborghini. And this is one after the other. And I thought, isn't this like sort of like a job, like interview type thing? Like I've never seen anything like this. And maybe it's my Middle Eastern background. I'm Lebanese. I'm sure you know people like this as well, being Italian. There's some people who just have that like hustler immigrant spirit. Like we all have that one uncle who it's like you ask him, does he know how to build a car with his bare hands? He's like, of course, I can do it. I can do anything. So it was a lot of that. And I don't know, I just sensed that it was nonsense. And when I went home, I called my friend on the phone and I was like, look, man, I believe in you. You're a smart guy. I don't want to see you get hurt. But I looked up this company and I'm seeing a lot of bad reviews saying scam, pyramid scheme, etc. And it was such a flip from somebody who was my best friend for the past 4 years just to turn instantly and go, you're just like everyone else. They told me you would say that. You don't believe in me. And he literally stopped being my friend because of that. And that experience always stuck with me. And I thought how strange, how bizarre that because I didn't want to go work at the same place my friend was working, now we're not friends anymore. Imagine you went and got a job at Home Depot or something. And because your friend didn't go work there too, you're not going to be friends with him anymore. So I thought something deeper must be going on here. They've done something to his mind. And it was evident from talking to him, and you know this from being in IM Academy, the way they have the language of the business seep into every conversation. Every conversation they're trying to find a subtle way to mention the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had went to that recruitment thing with my friend, he had this look in his eye where he literally looked crazed. He looked crazy. And he was like, when are you going to sign up? And it scared me, to be honest, because I didn't recognize, who I was looking at in that moment. And so fast forward 4 years, when I started doing YouTube, I never set out to be this like documentary filmmaker, scam exposer type guy. I was just thinking of video ideas that I thought could be funny to make. And one of the ideas on the list was called Join a Pyramid Scheme. And I thought back to that 2015 experience and I thought, if I could only capture what I saw 4 years ago on camera, I think it would be a great video. And after that came out, I came to find out that, yeah, actually millions of people have dealt with the same thing I dealt with. And that there is this cultic brainwashing scam movement that calls itself multi-level marketing and disguises itself as a real business that is destroying and has been destroying millions and millions of lives globally for decades now.
Yeah, so typically from what I've noticed, how these businesses work is there's an aspect to them that is a real business, like what they front themselves as, whether it's insurance, whether it's trading. Theoretically, you can make money with that thing, and that's what they market themselves as. But then once you join, one, it's very culty. Most of the calls are about motivation and mindset because it's a lot of people, when it fixes their personal life, that's where they think that this is the solution to everything. So like, even though they're not necessarily making money with the business model that it proposes when marketing itself, because they started journaling and they have some friends in a call that are trying to make money online, they get brainwashed into thinking that this is their new family. Even though, like you said, if you leave it, they all cut you off and curse you out. That's what I personally dealt with when leaving IM Academy. And then secondly, once you join, you realize the real way to make money isn't with the business they were talking about. It's with recruiting people. So like with that one, for example, you said it was insurance brokering. With the one that I was in, it was trading. And so inside, you realize like, oh, no one at the top is making money trading. It's all by recruiting other people. So what was Patrick Bet-David's role at this company?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely correct about your observation that there is an element of it that's a real business. And I sort of use this analogy to make it digestible to people who are unfamiliar with this topic. Think about like in a movie, like I'm thinking of something like a Rush Hour where they go to like a laundromat or a Chinese restaurant, and it's a real laundromat, it's a real Chinese restaurant, but then in the back or in the basement they've got people, wrapping up bricks, for example. Is the Chinese restaurant not a real business? It is, but that's sort of the front for what the real moneymaker is.
Mm,
And my best understanding of multi-level marketing leads me to the same conclusion that there is a real money-making mechanism where you're selling essential oils, or you're selling protein shakes, or you're selling, clothing, or you're selling insurance, and you could theoretically go out there and sell, off your sales skills alone and your business acumen alone and make some commission. And then there's also this other thing where just by recruiting a few people who also pay to join, you're going to make way more in bonuses than the commission of actually selling that thing would get you. So it's an almost inevitable pull towards the recruitment element, which you don't have to spend more than a few minutes even looking at the recruitment meetings or the social media accounts of a prominent multi-level marketing person to realize that that's what the real emphasis is. So to answer your question about Patrick, Patrick Bet-David was an agent for World Financial Group. He was one of the people, like my former best friend, who paid to join the company, and now he's out there trying to earn a small commission off selling a life insurance policy and recruiting other people who pay to join and will do the same. And then he had a realization that nearly every person who climbs the ranks of an MLM and ends up being successful does, in my experience, which is they realize if I really want to be in a money-making position, I need to be at the top of the pyramid. And how do you get to the top of the pyramid? Well, you start the pyramid.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so this is a pattern that's existed since the original MLM called Neutralite. The two distributors who were part of Neutralite, named Richard DeVos and Jay Van Andel, spun off to start something called Amway. And the compensation plan of virtually every MLM since Amway is a copycat, more or less, fundamentally, of Amway, to the point that Amway became so big that they actually absorbed Neutralite. They acquired Neutralite. So now Neutralite, which used to be its own company, is now simply the name of the product, like the supplement line of products within Amway. And so Patrick had a very similar journey where he was a World Financial Group agent, and then he spun off to start his own MLM called PHP, People Helping People, which is a ironic name that we
So
can get to
they
for
they
sure.
just copy the exact business model, but they just switch what like the front is essentially. Like in the women's
That's right.
space, it's a lot of beauty products, stuff like that. There's supplement ones, insurance ones, trading ones, but then the pyramid side of it's the exact same structure.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay.
They have different ways of drawing it on a piece of paper. Like you'll see people drawing circles and they'll be like, it's not a pyramid because actually it's a circle where the circles are all going out like this, so we're all equal. Well, that's just looking at a pyramid from a top-down view as opposed to from the front. So they
Yeah.
have different ways of drawing. They'll say, oh, this is a uni-level plan, meaning it only goes one layer deep. So it's not a pyramid. Well, it only goes one layer deep, but you can have as many people in that one layer. And
And
then
then
those people can have one layer. Yeah, go on.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. And
No,
then
no, you're
do
good.
they use a lot of the same psychology tactics throughout? Because I remember in IM Academy, they kept saying like, "I'm retired at 21." Is that a common thing between all of them?
Yeah, if you look at my videos on my channel about MLMs, you will hear, despite how different the products that they're selling are, the identical like catchphrases and isms and analogies and euphemisms and sayings, and even the speed at which they speak, their cadence, the way they
Mm,
walk, the way they posture themselves is it's really eerie to witness because they've all effectively cloned this cult leader persona and duplicated it down to the next level of the downline and on and on and on. And so, yeah, you hear a lot of the same things. Oh, scam. It's not a scam. Scam just means still confused about money. And you don't want to have a job. A job is slavery. Job stands for journey of the broke. And they all use these same flashy little isms to try to talk their way out of what they're doing.
mm. And then two quick questions before we get back into Patrick. How much
Sure.
money can these actually generate on a larger scale? And what's like a couple horror stories you've heard of people being inside of these?
Well, I'll just be blunt with you. I'm not going to try to build up something or make it seem otherworldly just to create a clip. But the cataclysmic end result that I've heard from various people, unfortunately, over the years, um, is that I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's gonna get me in trouble on your channel or say anything that will be bothersome to anybody to hear. But people kill themselves,
Mm,
um, and the result for I'll just put it to you this way: the FTC themselves, the Federal Trade Commission, who's the authority on multi-level marketing, they acknowledge that 99% of people, based on their estimation, who get involved with MLMs lose money. And that could be $1, that could be $100,000. They don't say specifically, they just say that 99% of people lose money.
mm,
But it goes beyond that. Anyone can lose money. We've all lost money. The incalculable cataclysmic cost is something you can't measure. What's the cost of years of personal anguish that you feel and shame for feeling like an idiot because you told people over and over again, yeah, mom, yeah, dad, this is going to be the thing. I'm going to be a millionaire. You just don't understand. You don't believe in me. And then you find out that actually that's not true. And you have to sort of eat your words in that regard. How do you put a price tag on the lost friendships and the lost relationships because of people that you cut off because they were like my former best friend and they thought I didn't believe in them, or that you cut off because you thought they were just a brokey, a broke-minded loser.
mm-hmm,
So, virtually every person who gets involved in multi-level marketing in the long run has a dire consequence that they have to pay. And the most dramatic end result of that, unfortunately, is people taking their own lives. And that's why I say that multi-level marketing over the decades continues to and has destroyed millions and millions of lives.
Because typically there's an upfront cost to join the group to get a job. And then there's a monthly retainer, which is typically what, a few $100s to a few $1,000s potentially. And then there's upsells in the group as well. So it's like they keep getting deeper and deeper. Maybe they get a few people recruited under them. So now they're just maybe under breaking even and they just keep sinking deeper and deeper into the ship, huh?
That's right. Yeah. In a classic Ponzi scheme, somebody will say, "All right, Sonny, I want you to give me $500 and in 3 months it'll be $1,000." Great. You just have to sit back and wait. MLM is so much more devious than even an illegal Ponzi scheme because they put the burden back on you. Hey, Sonny, give me your $500. I'm going to give you this starter kit of lotions and potions that you got to go out there and sell. And each month you're going to pay for a reorder of new lotions and potions. And it's on you to go recruit more people and recruit more people and recruit more people. So if you end up losing money, I can say, well, actually, maybe you're not selling hard enough. Maybe you didn't work hard enough. Maybe you don't have the right mindset. Obviously it works. Look at me. I got the watch and the car, and, obviously the system works. Maybe you didn't work. So it's actually even more deceptive and more nefarious and more evil than an illegal Ponzi scheme, in my estimation, because they can effectively scam you and then smile in your face and tell you it's your fault. Whereas in a Ponzi scheme, if Bernie Madoff, you gave him $50 million. If you gave him $50 million and he told you it's going to become 100 million and he didn't pay you back, now we have a problem, and you're going to be mad at Bernie. But in this, actually, Bernie gets to scold you and tell you, well, you didn't work hard enough.
Mm, that makes sense.
So the product being there is just effectively a method of layering and distracting from what the real mechanism is, which is endless chain, mathematically impossible, unsustainable recruiting. But they'll say, oh, well, you're not selling. So they're conflating the language, and really language deception is at the heart of the whole MLM apparatus, calling things the opposite of what they are, using doublespeak, using language trickery. Oh, you didn't sell hard enough, or you're not working hard enough. Well, unfortunately, there's no amount of hard work that will make the math any less impossible.
Mm. So back to PBD. He starts as an agent in this company. He starts his own. What goes on from there?
So he started PHP in 2009, according to the public records that I've been able to look up online. And it's business as usual. I'm sure you might have heard something, or correct me if I'm wrong, but you might have heard something in IM Academy during your time there, where they had this phrase: "Whoever tells the story best wins."
I don't remember that, but it sounds like something they would
Okay,
have said. Yeah.
yeah. So this is something I hear in MLMs. They say whoever tells the story the best wins, which is true. If you have the most compelling rags to riches, I was born on a dirt floor in Mexico and now I have this and that, you'll do the best because you'll convince the most desperate, vulnerable people to part with their money. The reason I bring that up in regards to Patrick Bet-David is because can you think of a better yapper, non sequitur, endless babbling storyteller ever? Yeah, so I'm born in Iran and I moved to a refugee camp in Germany when I'm 11, and then I'm going to work at Bally's, and my dad has a night, on and on and on and on. So he's sort of like this wizard of babble where he just pummels you with endless scriptures of nonsense and stories that could be made up. Maybe they're real. They might have something to do with the greater point he's making. They probably don't. And it almost just like dazzles you into a fog, into a haze where you think, surely if this guy was bullshitting me, he wouldn't be able to go on like this with such confidence. And I think that's been proven by many cult leaders in history to be an effective way of getting people to suspend their critical thinking and just go along with what you're saying by just continually yapping with confidence. Look at
Mm.
every cult leader, Jim Jones in the People's Temple, Jonestown cult. This is the one where they all drank the Kool-Aid and died. They all drank the cyanide laced Flavor Aid. You know, the survivors of that cult talk about how he would go on like he was live streaming before streaming was a thing. He was like doing live IRL sermons for like 7 hours, and you have to stay awake, and this is part of every cult that I've looked into. Their indoctrination process is keeping you sleep deprived and keeping you just keeping you up and keeping you listening and keeping you engaged and keeping the hold on you. So sorry, I know I kind of went off on a tangent. You
No,
asked
you're
me
good,
what
and
happened from
guilting
there.
you for not joining those calls where they waste your time. It seems like a lot of them they just get good at the skill of articulation, removing from their speech, raising their voice, lowering their voice, and that's enough to fool a lot of people.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. And there's another element to it as well, which is like there's a great book called Without Conscience by a gentleman named Robert Hare. And in the book, I could be mistaken about if it's that book or another of his books, but I believe it's that book where he talks about how 10% approximately of all of society is classified as a psychopath, if I'm not mistaken. Percent of society that are psychopaths. I want to make sure I got this number right because it does seem like a high number. Sorry, apologies. I added a zero. 1% of the population, not 10%. My mistake. So in the book, he talks about how approximately 1% of wider society is a psychopath or a sociopath. That's only 1%. So most people like you and me, we don't assume in every interaction that someone's trying to deceive us. If you told me, you're wearing blue pants right now, I'm seeing you from the chest up. I can't see the lower part of your body. If you told me you're wearing blue pants, I would just believe you. I don't have any reason to think you're lying to me. You could be lying, but generally I'm going to trust you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how most people are. If you tell me that you make $100,000 a month with confidence, my first instinct, rather most people's first instincts might be incredulity. Oh wow, that's a lot. They might have skepticism, but if you reaffirm enough, no, really, I make $100,000 a month, really, really, most people will just believe you,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's not that crazy. Maybe it's $10,000 a month, still a lot of money, but maybe they're only making three or four. So it's less of a stretch, and yeah, unfortunately, the people who are the psychopaths and the sociopaths, in my opinion, they take advantage of the fact that most people are good-hearted, most people are trusting, most people do give you the benefit of the doubt. And they take advantage of that to espouse lies that see desperate or vulnerable or just trusting people part with their money. And to them, that's just being a good salesman. To them, that's business. I said the right combination of words in the right way that got you to give me your money. So we're all good. No one held a gun to your head. So they think that just because you're not being, outwardly coercive, that everything is all good, despite the fact that you could still be lying, you could still be using deception. But yeah, you're correct that most of these people have just armed themselves with the baseline vocabulary and speaking skills to be able to deceive in mass. But they don't actually have a business acumen. They're not actually intelligent business people. As a matter of fact, I think that they're probably just psychopaths on the loose committing legal crime in a legal scam to destroy people.
What's some of the stuff you face by exposing a lot of these companies?
Well, I'm dealing with multiple lawsuits right now. In the United States, lawfare is something that, I mean, we all have heard stories about how infamously broken the legal system in the US is,
Yeah, of course.
especially when it comes to civil cases, without getting into too much of the details, I'll just say this. I would actually be having an easier time right now if I was accused of murder than if I was dealing with what I'm dealing with now, which are just civil, claims, defamation and whatnot. Because in a criminal case like murder, the burden of proof is so high. They say beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to pretty concretely, without question, prove that the suspect did it in order to convict them. And if they can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to them.
Yeah.
So you would have a lawyer appointed to you, and the burden of proof is extremely high to prove it. In a civil case, there's no such free lawyer, public defender for a civil case. You need to just pay up. And if you don't pay up and you don't hire the lawyer, you'll just lose by default. So you literally have no way of insulating yourself against it, no matter how nonsensical or frivolous it is. There's the saying, you can sue over a ham sandwich. If you, Sonny, have $1 million and I have $10,000, and you accuse me of defaming you because I said that you like Cheese Whiz and you don't like Cheese Whiz, it's nonsense, right? Maybe I never said that. Maybe I did say that, but it's not defamatory. But if you choose to spend the money, you can still bring a case, no matter how nonsensical it is. And I will still have to defend against it. And guess what? If I don't defend against it, then whatever you say basically just goes. You will win by default. You will get to ask the court and say, this caused me a lot of personal turmoil and stress that he said that I like Cheese Whiz. So I want you to award me $100,000 that he has to pay. And you could effectively destroy my life. And that's what's happening.
And you would just go into debt,
happening.
Right? You would go into debt for that $100,000.
I mean, that's a conservative estimate, $100,000.
Of course.
You're getting a good deal if you only have to spend $100,000. But yeah, I mean, it's debt.
And then I'm assuming it's even worse than that too. Like if you can't pay it, I would assume that there's interest on that as well. And so it just keeps accumulating.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And so yeah, I've been going through that now for the past couple of years. And yeah, it has destroyed my life in many ways, to be honest with you. And it's like a day-by-day thing that I'm still contending with. And I hope that at the end of the journey, if there is an end to it, they've already been wasting years of my life at this point in court. If there is an end point to it, then I hope that truth gets to have its day and that the truth prevails. But
and is there a chance that you win money from this? If you win the case, do they have to pay you in a civil case where they started it?
Probably not.
Wow.
Probably not.
So it's like you can make millions of dollars scamming people, and then when the good guy comes out and exposes you, you can just financially run him into the ground by suing him and making him pay lawyers that he can't afford. But you can because you scammed a bunch of people.
That's insane. Right. I mean, America, in my opinion, is fundamentally broken. I'm Canadian. I'm born and raised in Canada, but that hasn't stopped United States court actions being brought against me in United States courts. So even just challenging the validity of a lawsuit against me, a Canadian, in a U.S. court is something that costs me tens of thousands of dollars and takes years of my life. And, it's endless nonsense. So, but I mean, yeah, that's America. I mean, That's the thing. If you have the money to insulate yourself in terms of like legal costs against consequences, look at the I Am Academy guys. Last year they were finally sued by the FTC for running a scam. The FTC said it's a $1.2 billion scam. By the way, if I share my screen, will you be able to see things that I'm pulling up? We're on Discord, right?
Yeah. You can share your screen.
So you're just streaming your Discord, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if I pull something up, you'll be able to see it. So the company that Sonny's referring to that he was in was called I Am Academy, and in I Am Academy, the FTC finally sued them last year after probably thousands of reports that it was a scam from consumers. And give me one second here. Just want to share this here. There we go. So here it says, lead defendants in the I Am Mastery Academy MLM scheme to turn over tens of millions of dollars in assets to settle FTC charges. So this is only from
Wow.
May. This is only May of 2013. Sorry, apologies, May 13th of 2026. So originally the suit was announced May of 2025, and then it took another year for actual settlements to be made. So the reason I bring this up in relation to what we're talking about here, can you still see me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, good. The reason I bring this up is because
Oh, by the way, I have people in the chat. I haven't been reading the chat as much, guys, because I just want to pay attention. But there's multiple people in the chat who are in a lot of these businesses or scams that you mentioned.
well, hopefully we can guide them towards the light, because we've all had a brush with it, whether we were involved in it or had a loved one who was involved. So hopefully they're not still presently in it. But yeah.
No, they're not. They're not. They're out of it, thankfully.
Okay,
But
good,
sorry.
good.
Keep
But
going.
yeah, I mean, but no, that's not a surprise to me because, like I said, this touches almost everybody. I mean, think about it. There's what, 400 million people in the US. In even one MLM company, there could be 100,000 people. Those
Mhm.
100,000 people, in my experience, are pushed towards trying to recruit every day as many people as possible. Think about the amount of DMs that are being sent out daily just from those 100,000. If those 100,000 each just contacted 5, that's 500,000.
And
It's not hard to imagine.
And one
Yeah,
of the
go ahead.
tactics that they do is they make you make a list of everyone that you know and reach out to absolutely everybody. I remember they tried to get me
That's
to
right.
do that, and I was like, that's just absolutely insane. I haven't even made any money with trading. Why would I reach out to every single contact?
Right. It doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're supposed to be a salesperson, wouldn't it be antithetical to your end goal to recruit your own competitor?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of
Like
course.
A McDonald's might put a McDonald's close to another McDonald's, but they'll never put one directly next to another McDonald's because of cannibalization. But in
Hmm.
MLMs, they want you to do this with no regard for how much market demand there actually is.
Mm.
What if I'm not selling anything? If I'm not selling anything off the strength of my own merits, what justification do I have to go recruit more people? And then they want those 5 people to recruit 5 people. So if you actually do the math on this, it is literally impossible. If you, Sonny, are at the very beginning, which just for the sake of this hypothetical, we'll say you're at the beginning, even though we know that by the time any of us joins an MLM today, it's probably been around for a few years and already has churned through thousands of people at least. But let's just say for the sake of generosity that you're recruit number 1 and you recruit 5. Then they recruit 5. Now we're at 25. Then they recruit 5, 125, and on and on. Within 13 cycles, you've exceeded the entire population of the earth. So how long do you think it's going to take just to tap out your city? It's
And what
complete nonsense.
everyone's gonna sell
Yep.
potions and
Yep.
lotions.
Everyone's going to be in it. There's going to be no more doctors, no more bus drivers, no more baristas. Everybody's going to be in this company. It's just complete nonsense.
And
Every element of it is complete
you
nonsense.
know what's sad about it that I noticed is most of the people it goes after, I don't know if you've experienced this too, but it's mainly minorities and people from like impoverished communities. Did you experience that?
Yeah, my former best friend who I alluded to at the beginning, he was Mexican. He was from a hardworking Mexican family. His dad, if I recall correctly, was like he did like drywalling. So he was a laborer. And if you look at any of my videos really about MLMs, the infiltrations I've done, yeah, most of the people are. I guess what we would call a minority group,
Hmm.
or they're, first or second generation immigrants. Um, I noticed a lot of these companies, they purposely do that because they're preying on a sort of third world sense of naivety when it comes to Western capitalism
The
and this
American
idea of
dream. Yeah.
the American dream. And that traces back all the way to Amway, like I said before. Amway is an abbreviation of the American way. That's what Amway means, American way. And you know, when I was talking about things that I'm dealing with, one of the things I had to deal with was private investigators following me in public and going to my home and to my relatives' homes. And so in 2024, I moved to Asia and I spent time abroad, and I was in Thailand, I was in Malaysia, I was in Japan, I was in South Korea, I was in Indonesia. And I spent about a year across 2024 and 2025 just in Asia. And while I was there, I took it upon myself to really examine and investigate the presence that Amway specifically has in Asia. And this is a documentary I've been working on for quite a while. It still hasn't come out yet. But the amount of money that Amway internationally seems to invest into Asian markets where their currency is much less valuable than the US dollar or the Canadian dollar is stunning. Like, you don't see in America when you're driving around, you don't see like, oh, Amway store here and there. But in Asia, you see like big, massive, like almost museums honoring Amway. And, they have offices for new recruits to come in. They have a cafeteria for families to come in. They have, um, a juice bar. They have endless, it's like a multi-million dollar, if not billion dollar, like complex, like mega complex in some of these places, like just outside Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. I went to one, and it was just otherworldly to see. And I think the reason they do this targeting of these, poorer countries is because the allure of the promise of financial freedom, of, the American way, the American dream is so much more alluring to somebody whose yearly salary, when converted to US dollars, is like pennies.
Yeah, of
You know what
course.
I mean? And for some of these people, that's why it broke my heart to see Amway's influence overseas, because truly, with I Am Academy, I don't know how much money you lost
It
net.
was 1 month, maybe 400
Okay,
bucks, 500 bucks.
you'll recover.
Yeah.
Someone in Thailand, someone in Indonesia losing 500 bucks, it might genuinely take them years to recover from that. And so I think you're correct in your observation. I've certainly observed the same thing. Yeah, they do target minorities, and especially they target young people too with very little life experience because they're naive, they're green, they want to take a risk, they want to take a chance. My friend from high school, consider this was 2015. Wolf of Wall Street came out 2013. You know, Everybody wanted to have this like Wolf of Wall Street fantasy. You're 19 years old. I want a nice car. I want a hot girlfriend. And
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
some guy telling me this is how you're gonna do it. So yeah, I think that's a correct observation.
Mm. So then back to PBD, bro. He starts his company. I'm assuming it scales pretty quickly.
I'm actually not sure about that. I'm actually not sure about the numbers. I remember seeing within the last year a video of Patrick Bet David giving somebody a tour of one of his valuetainment offices or something, and he was saying like, he was alluding to what I can only assume was PHP, saying we have 50,000 agents. 50,000 agents since 2009 really isn't a huge number compared to like an Amway or an Herbalife or something like that. But it scaled quick enough, I will say, that, Patrick Bet David is who he is now. And really that comes down to his, I guess, cleverness. I will give him credit for taking the wealth he was making privately from the MLM and then sort of parlaying that into a media empire. He did these interviews years ago with people like Kobe Bryant and Jordan Peterson. And at that time, a lot of people were like, who is this guy, Patrick Bet David? He sort of presented himself as he's just this business guy, numbers guy. He has a he
One
has an
PP,
insurance
one
company.
PP, two PP. You saw that clip?
One PP. That's my clip. I saw Sneeko posted that clip, and I'm just cropped out of it, but you can hear my voice at the end of the clip saying what?
Oh,
And the
really?
red outline, yeah, the red outline around the image is something that I add. I added that in DaVinci Resolve. Like I was the first person to react to that clip and post it. But yeah, it just there's a bunch of clips that people have re-uploaded, but you can literally still hear my voice at the end. They just crop to the top part of it with me out. But yeah, I've seen.
Oh, that's too funny. I didn't know
But
that.
no, it's all good though. I mean, much love to 𝐶 It's all good. That's the nature of the game. And 𝐶's shown love too. He's reacted. You were on a stream with him where you guys reacted to one of my impressions. I think of this is several months ago of Patrick
Yeah, no,
Bet-David.
I think you have the funniest impression of PBD. It's just
That's a whole nother thing because I didn't even like venture to do that. I just sort of like while I was talking shit in one of my videos, I just did like an impression just off the top of my head. And people in the comments were like, yo, you actually do that really good. So then I kind of
yeah,
leaned
it's
into
spot
it. But
on. It's literally spot on.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so with regards to Patrick's growth, I think really his growth and his notoriety and fame has grown not because of his MLM endeavors. There's plenty of MLM CEOs you wouldn't even be able to name, even though the companies are multi-billion-dollar companies. It's because he took the money he was making, as far as I can tell, based on my understanding and my belief, that he used some of the money that he made from PHP to throw these events like the Jordan Peterson, Kobe Bryant interviews. Those are at PHP events. I have a
Mm.
video on my channel called Exposing Patrick Bet-David's Pyramid Scheme. It's from like 2 years ago, has over 500,000 views on my channel. And I explain this in depth that, he spent the money. I'm assuming Jordan Peterson and Kobe Bryant didn't do these for free.
Yeah.
He spends the money then to host these events where he's doing these interviews, but then rather than it being like a PHP isolated thing, he takes the video of that interview and posts it on his own separate platform, Valuetainment or PBD podcast. So he's leveraging the money from PHP to build his own personal brand. And now
Mm.
that's the Patrick Bet-David we have today, where he's sort of like people don't even know him for being the MLM guy anymore. He's just like a political talking head, like pundit sort of type guy, commentator type guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always give the analogy of it's like it's planting like a poop seed. You don't see the seed, and then it grows into a poop tree.
Okay.
No, I'm just messing
Okay,
around.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But it has perfume on it, so you can't see. You can't tell it's
yeah.
poop. It looks
Yeah,
nice.
true.
And then you dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
you go to grab one of the flowers, and your hands get all sticky and smushy.
Yeah, actually, I call it maybe my analogy isn't as apt as yours, but I call this the pyramid paradox, where these young guys in MLMs, they'll go up on an Instagram live or a Zoom meeting or on stage and they'll say, "I'm making $10,000 a month from this business," and assumedly it's not true, but they repeat this enough that they impress enough people that now they actually are making $10,000 a month. And then once they are making $10,000 a month, now they're saying, I'm making $20,000 a month. And they just grow this and grow this and grow this and keep layering the lie with more
Mm.
lies until they actually do. Because, it's almost like the ultimate fake it till you make it. And so I think Patrick Bet-David is kind of like the ultimate fake it till you make it. He had to sell the dream about multi-level marketing for however many years to however many people. In my opinion, deceptively, because the numbers, and I even have the income disclosure for his company pulled up here so you can see how well the people in his company do from this very successful numbers guy who supposedly is going to be guiding them to a good opportunity. And now he's sort of at this point where, as I say in my video, he's reached escape velocity where, he doesn't even have to lean into the MLM thing anymore at all. He's
Yeah, he
just a
broke out of it.
political.
He has what
He broke
Minect,
out. Yeah,
Valuetainment, and that does well enough.
for sure. But and so now, he is a legitimate businessman, ostensibly, but it's built on something that I think should be illegal. I'm not saying
The poop
he's
tree,
done
yeah.
anything illegal. Yeah, I think
I don't know if yours is
it-
as wise as mine, your analogy, but
yeah, no,
you'll
yeah,
you'll
you're
get
right.
up there, bro. Don't worry about it. So
I'm working on
you
it.
want to pull that up? I'm actually I'm curious about that.
I feel like Rob right now pulling
Rob,
it up. Rob, pull up the the Muslims. All right, here, let's check it out. All right, so this is the most recent income disclosure that we can find.
The
He
accent.
love He loves
Bro,
talking
what,
about
every time the reels pop up with I laugh out loud every single time.
he loves talking about the
The
people in my
Muslims,
comments put it
and if you
the
don't know, I grew up in
MUZZ.
Iran. Uh,
So I grew up in Iran, right? And I'm looking at what is the amount of Muslims that's there if you're looking at if you take in one Muslim, two Muslim, 10 Muslims per one house, right? Then how many Muslims is they making when they having kids? Are they having kids or are they not having kids? You know, it just talks about anything. It just goes on and on about nothing.
uh,
Um, but okay, so here's the most recent income disclosure that we can see for PHP 2022, started in 2009. Our mission is to change. Okay, our mission since day one is to change an elitist financial services industry, and in doing so, provide everyone access to the best insurance products offered. Sounds great. So, first thing to notice in MLMs, they will always say, "This is your business. You're an independent business owner." It's
yep, they
very
said that.
clearly stated here. It's very clearly stated here that you're not a business owner. You are a 1099 independent contractor, not a W-2 paid employee. You don't have a wage. You don't have a salary. You don't receive benefits. You don't receive pink slips. You're responsible to do all your own taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You also don't own it. They can fire you at any time for any reason. All
So
right.
wait, real quick, they can get in
Go
trouble
on.
for that,
Yeah.
right? Because that's deceptive marketing, no?
Which part?
Marketing it as starting an independent business, but then you're a contractor, or that's allowed legally.
I'm not sure actually about the exact verbiage, but I would say, in my own personal opinion, that at least colloquially saying that you're an independent business owner is untrue and deceptive.
Okay, sorry, you can get back to it.
No worries. So here's what you have to do to become an agent with PHP. Pay a one-time fee of $200. So $200 has been exchanged. Whether you end up pursuing this long-term or not, whether you end up making a single sale or not, you're already down $200. Okay, that's, to me, this right here is the most important element. To me, this is the money-making engine of the whole thing. If 50,000 people, and of course we have to assume that there's churn each year, many of the people who are in it on year one are not going to be there on year two, etc. But if there's a revolving number of 50,000 people per year, all of whom are paying $200, that's $10 million right there. For nothing, effectively, just to
recurring
join.
annually, yeah.
Yes, it's an enrollment fee. Includes administrative processing, means nothing, and certain educational materials. Okay, so, and support services and licensing resources. What does it mean? We don't know. Additionally, a required annual fee, which is either $99 or $180. All right. And you have 3 days to get a refund. So let's get to the real juicy stuff here. Here is the average annual 2022 income. The amount of people that made under $1,000 for the entire year on average was 44% of people. 44%. Okay? Made under $1,000 for the entire year. Now, here's something to note. By the way, the specifics of this was $388 on average. Something I want people to know, because they might be thinking, your viewers might be watching thinking, wow, that's horrible. Nearly half of people, after spending $200 plus potentially another $99, are only making $388 on average. So they're basically net zero, or like maybe they're up $88. I want you to understand that this number, the 388, is still massively inflated because it's an average.
Yeah, so
And the way I explain, yeah, go on.
I was going to finish your sentence. It's accounting for the people that are making millions of dollars a year into that, right?
That's right. So I use a very simple analogy. I say, if you look at the average between me and Jeff Bezos in our income, it's basically just Jeff Bezos divided by 2, because the amount he made is so much more. I effectively made 0 compared to Jeff Bezos, right? So, but if you took the average of me and Jeff Bezos and it says we both made $500 million or whatever the amount is, it looks like I'm doing pretty good, because technically the average between us is so high. But the average is only high because he made so much more. So it's making me look not as bad, and it's making him look not as good. That's what's happening here as well. So look at the amount of people that made over $500,000, nearly $1 million, 0.17% of people. What's Here, let's Google it. What's 0. What was it? 17? 0.17% of 50,000 people. 85 people.
Wow.
So 85 people might have made on average over $500,000.
And then even still, the same equation applies to that, with the top guy probably making, you know,
Exactly.
multiple 8 figures a year. So then it still doesn't even.
Exactly. And never mind the costs. Like earlier you mentioned different costs. There's a cost to join. There's an annual cost in this case. There's also costs, like I've done interviews with people on my channel who used to be in PHP, and they talk about like the events. You know, this is something I Am Academy did. Yeah, this is something they always do. It's an upsell. You know, it's a ticketed event, sometimes as much as $500 at some of these MLMs that I've seen. You know, not including travel, not including the Ubers and the food and the hotel or the Airbnb or whatever else. And then they're also selling merch. You know, they're selling PHP merch or Amway merch or whatever it is. And then the ticket itself. And then they want you to buy tickets for your team as well so that you can show you're a good leader, on and on and on and on. So you factor in all these things, even probably as high up as this rank right here, the people making between $5,000 and $10,000, the average being $6,900. That's only 8% of people. I would guess that even these people, most of them are probably still net losing money at the end of the year, because $6,911 divided by 12 months, it's only $575 a month.
And that's probably working full time at it.
We don't know. That's another thing too, is you're not factoring in the opportunity cost of your time. You know, at McDonald's, guess what? You get paid for every single hour that you're clocked in. Here, there's no guarantee. You could spend 10 hours and make 0. You know, we have to account for how much time people are spending commuting to go to the office, on Zoom calls that are unpaid, sending DMs that are unpaid, prospecting people in Walmart, telling them, hey, I love your shoes. Have you ever thought about keeping your income options open? All that is unpaid labor that you're doing.
Yeah.
Listening to audios, watching Patrick Bet-David videos about business, on and on, going to the events. So, I mean, if it wasn't bad enough that the bottom 2 layers, look, 30% plus 44%, that's 74% of people, 75% effectively. So 2/3 of the people are exemplified just by these bottom 2 layers here. So is it not bad? Is it not bad enough that 75% of people are losing money in your company and you're supposed to be a big business guy? Guess what? Everybody who works at McDonald's gets paid. Not one person who works at Walmart or McDonald's or 7-Eleven, think of the lowest tier jobs you can think, not one of those people loses money working there. Everyone gets paid. So this is another nefarious trick of MLMs, in my opinion, is that they always try to whitewash these numbers and say, oh, well, you know, most people who play basketball never make it to the NBA. Does that mean basketball was a scam? Sounds clever at first, but it's a complete apples to oranges false equivalence, because am I paying to play basketball? Most people are playing basketball for fun. They're not pursuing it as a career. Also, nobody, as far as I can tell, is out here on the internet making money by telling people
to play basketball.
Oh yeah, you're gonna to play basketball. You know, the NBA players themselves will tell you it's very hard to get into the NBA, whereas the MLM people are telling you the opposite. They're saying it's easy, just recruit 5 people who recruit 5 people. So all of it is about lying. And I always say, not only is everything in MLM a lie, everything is actually the opposite of what they say it is. One thing you'll commonly hear is, this is the greatest income opportunity in the world. We have the greatest compensation plan in the industry. The greatest opportunity in the world? 75% of people, at a minimum, that we can tell just from your own, mind you, this is their own disclosed numbers. This is what they're admitting to. 75% of people effectively losing money based on the mental math that we can do here.
Yeah, 91% of people under the $25,000 threshold. That doesn't even crack minimum wage.
For the year, mind you.
Yeah.
For the year.
And there's expenses with this. Wow.
And it doesn't factor in expenses, and it doesn't factor in your labor, and it doesn't factor in the opportunity, and on and on and on.
Yeah.
or any other, bonus things you might have bought, like this bottom row, and then I'll move on from this. This bottom row is $388. So if you joined PHP and you paid 200 to join, and then you paid another 100 for just fees, you've already cut into this $300. So now you're down to only $88. Do you think you might spend $88 on gas just going to meetings over the course of the year?
Yeah.
So you're losing money.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
even with the upsells, they're so deceptive. I remember in 𝐈𝐴M, for those of you that just joined the stream, I joined one of these MLM kind of pyramid schemes things for the first time I ever bought a program. And they would charge to use all the trading tools. And when they would be doing like a call, getting people to buy it, they'd be like, everyone type in the chat, $29 is nothing. $29 is nothing. So they would guilt you in a group mindset into getting that tool, which realistically should already be included with the package. So it's just silly. And real quick, because I've noticed a lot of people mix affiliate marketing with MLM schemes, but they're very different.
Right.
How would you describe the difference? I'm assuming you have an analogy or something.
It's very simple. Affiliate marketing is a one and done. I'm think of like an Amazon affiliate link. Hey guys, you like the microphone I use in my videos? The link is in my description. You can get the same one and I'll make a commission. What I'm not doing is getting you to pay me a membership where I give you then a box of these microphones where you have to go sell them and recruit other people to sell them, and on and on and on in this chain. It's just simply Amazon is paying me a cut of whatever their profit is. They're paying me 5% or 10% of this microphone because I advertised it to you. It's a one and done, but it's a very good question. And I'm glad you brought that point up, because these MLMs will always try to use this false analogy and conflate affiliate marketing with multi-level marketing, which is really just a fancy way of saying pyramid scheme in my estimation. By being like, oh, well, Uber, don't you refer people to Uber? How is that a scam too? Because I referred someone to Uber and I got $10 of Uber cash. Well, you're not paying to be an Uber distributor. You're also not dependent on recruiting more people who then sign up to get a link, who then when they send their link, and on and on. You know what I mean? It's a one and done.
It's like the Uber equivalent would be like, here, join Uber. You have to pay $99 to become a driver, but the real money isn't made with being a driver. It's made with you now need to get 2 people. And then it's also like
become drivers.
Yeah, it's also you need different branches of people too. From what I remember in 𝐈𝐴M, is you need one person, and then they have to branch out. So it literally works out perfectly to being a pyramid.
That's right. And I'm going to show you this because I actually meant to touch on this earlier. Where's this window?
For those of you guys that just joined the stream, we're talking about pyramid schemes, MLM marketing, deceptive tactics, and how PBD made his entire empire off of it.
That's right. So here's an example of what you're talking about, right? This is called a binary plan, where you have one leg and one leg. Okay.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it's literally just a pyramid. Like this is like the skit from The Office where they're drawing the pyramid. The Office pyramid. Yeah, like this, when he draws it on the paper. It's basically like that, right? So a binary plan is basically there's you're the red guy here, Sonny, and then you have left leg, right leg, and then they each have left leg, right leg, on and on and on. So this is a 1x2.
And that's where you mentioned if it goes off into 13, what would the word be? Multiples? It exceeds the population of Earth.
Yeah, like 13 layers. That's if you have 5. In this one, you have 2. So the number to exceed the population of the Earth would obviously be higher than this. It'd be 2 to the power of, whatever it is to get to that. But you see that this is still a pyramid. Now, here's another example of how they try to conflate it and make and trick you. Uni-level plan. So here's a uni-level plan. So now in this one, rather than having 2 people below you, they have 5. And then maybe one of them has 3, one of them has 2, one of them has 3. The same thing applies, though. It's still a pyramid. And whether you're drawing the circles on the paper as 1x2 or 1x5 or 1x10, you still get the fundamental element is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's still an endless chain, which is the problem. Here's another example. Forced matrix. So this is a forced matrix plan. It's the same shit. 1x3x3x3x3 and on and on and on. So there's really all this serves to do. I mean, why choose one over the other? in my opinion, it's just to make it more confusing. It's just to try to confuse people even more because some MLMs will have these arbitrary requirements, like you alluded to, where they'll say, okay, in order to rank up, you need to have 3 people below you, but those 3 people each need to have 3,
Yep.
and they need to have a guy in one leg who has 5. It's like they're just
Mm.
making it up. It's literally just made up fairy tale nonsense. So, um, yeah, what were you asking me about that we
I
got onto that?
we went to that because I mentioned affiliate marketing and how it's
Oh, that's right.
different.
So, exactly. So yeah, affiliate marketing, referral marketing, not at all the same thing as MLM. Also, I probably the biggest distinction is you don't have to pay to be an affiliate marketer. I don't have to pay anything to Amazon if I want to sell an Amazon affiliate link. You
Yeah, you're
know,
bringing them business, and in return, you're basically just getting a commission for bringing them the business. It's very simple because
exactly,
instead they don't have to
exactly,
pay the marketing cost. So typically they would have to spend
exactly,
that 20-30% anyways on getting the customer, but you're bringing it for them. So they're just like, oh, here's a
exactly,
cut. That's basic business.
exactly.
Even in like,
It's basic.
I run an agency. If you connect me with someone that signs up for my clipping agency, I give you a cut. Very basic. That way I don't have to go out, spend money on reels, on ads to acquire that client.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, you're not paying for it, and also, there's no like, it's not like in MLMs. So it's like if you recruit 100 people, we'll pay you a bonus of $5,000. It's not like that with Amazon. They're not going to say, if you bring us this many referrals, then we'll pay you a big bonus. They might
Yeah.
say, you know what, you're bringing us a lot of referrals, we'll increase your commission from 10% to 15%.
Yep.
But they're not, you know what I mean? So yeah, good,
Hopefully that
good,
clears
good.
that up for you guys. Because even with like Andrew Tate's thing, a lot of people were, I mean, that was affiliate marketing, no?
That's right. Yeah, a lot of people over the years, I mean, I have to give myself credit for this one. There was a time in probably like 2022 where it was like guaranteed views if you made a video about Andrew Tate and
You're telling me, yeah.
Hustlers University. Yeah, and I had so many people because I was the MLM exposing guy reaching out demanding that I made a video about Andrew Tate's pyramid scheme. That's what they would all say. And then I even had people who were making videos about it reaching out to me asking if I would do collabs with them. And I said, unlike Amway and Herbalife and PHP and World Financial Group, no one has ever sent me any credible material showing me that MLM or that Hustlers University is an MLM or a pyramid scheme. As far as I can tell, it's just affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
But I think people are just intent on, at that time, there were so many people intent on just trying to
Take him down.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but if you're ever confused about if something is a pyramid scheme, I like to use the 4 red flags that were coined by Robert Fitzpatrick. Robert Fitzpatrick is probably the world's #1 expert on multi-level marketing. I have an interview with him on my channel. He wrote the book Ponzi-nomics, which is all about the history of MLMs and pyramid schemes and how they sort of lobby and control the government today. Um, and in that, he talks about the 4 characteristics of a pyramid scheme: pay to play, emphasis on recruitment, extreme money transfer of the bottom 99% to the less than top 1%, um, and uh, the endless chain. So that's basically the red flags you need to look for: pay to play, endless chain, emphasis on recruitment, and extreme money transfer. Because ultimately that's what MLM is. It's a money transfer system. It's not a business model.
Yeah.
You know, there may be some technical real sales going on amongst that, but as I said before, it's just it's the disguise. Nobody's really getting into this because they want to sell overpriced granola bars or essential oils. They're doing it because they've been told that this is the way you're going to make a bajillion dollars.
Yeah, exactly. I see some chats. Affiliation is only good if you're honest to your audience and products are good. And like, look, I'm not even the biggest fan of Andrew Tate, right? I was,
Me
and
too.
I'm not anymore. But
Yeah.
realistically, bro, like paying $50 for something, it's not a lot of money. If you learn one valuable skill that you're able to apply to your life, it's objectively worth it. Like even I paid $5,000 to join the war room back then. And this, I'm not a affiliate or sales guy for it, especially not anymore. Well, I never was, but I made one connection from there that was worth it. One connection. And basically with every group I've joined or info product I bought, it was always worth it, bro. You're saving time on having to learn that lesson yourself. You're getting it quicker, saving the money from having to go and learn that lesson the hard way. So it's pretty unfortunate because there are a lot of good info products and services out there, and scams like this just make people, suspect of all of them. But paying for information is not a bad thing. And even college nowadays is realistically, unless you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor, in 2026, I'm under the opinion that it's really not worth it anymore. I mean, you're paying $200,000, $300,000, getting yourself into debt for a business degree where you're not even guaranteed a job. You're learning outdated tactics to build a business. You're learning, in business, there's a principle called the 80-20 rule, where you're focused on the small percentage of tasks that yield the biggest result. And from what I've seen with business school, they're teaching you the stuff that doesn't really matter. It's like the LLC formation and how to do your taxes. And it's like, dude, make money and worry about that stuff later. Pay someone to handle it for you.
Right. Yeah, even lawyer. I mean, you're telling me the lawyers aren't just going to be phased out by AI? Like, they're already using fucking AI to draft everything and do the legal research and whatever. So,
I mean, even doctors, bro. Like, I have, family that's in med school right now, and the doctor asked them a question. They look it up on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then even the medical reports that are going on inside of hospitals, now the technician used to listen to what you say, take notes, and then it would be a part of their process of after the meeting to then have to go into the system and put all those notes in the database. Now AI just listens to the whole conversation and does it automatically. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if surgeries get phased out eventually. It's really not worth it in 2026, bro.
True. And I mean, I agree with what you're saying about everything you said about Andrew Tate. I used to be a fan. I'm not so much anymore. And I also don't think that there's anything like inherently wrong. Like, could Hustlers University have been a scam in the sense that you weren't getting the value that you paid for? Sure. But I never had anybody provide me anything concretely that showed that. I've never seen a YouTube video where someone was like, oh, I lost the money and I had a really bad experience. To the contrary, I've only had people that spent money on it say good things. And so, I agree about the, it's not a scam to spend money on information. And I get it too. I get people saying that too. Recently, I launched this. I hope you won't mind me mentioning this.
Of course not.
But yeah, this is like effectively information. I've been a full-time YouTuber for 7 years, and I've made so many mistakes and learned stuff that I probably should have known earlier that would have helped me grow much farther in a much shorter amount of time. So I did this site, and at the bottom there's a free workshop, hour-and-a-half long workshop, where I'm teaching everything I know about like streaming, editing, clipping, short form content, etc. And basically my entire funnel of content creation in order to have been able to do this for so long. And so this is something where I'm like working with people one-on-one, like on a one-on-one call like we're doing right now, and literally helping them learn how to edit, learn how to use OBS, learn how to set up something that's going to make them money, whether it's like a Shopify store or a digital product or a Patreon, like literally holding their hand through it and doing it with them, because I wish I would have had that. And as soon as I did this, people were like, I had people being like, oh, yeah, even worse. I had people being like, the irony of you doing this. And I'm like, what's ironic about it? I'm literally selling my time. Like the one thing that you can't say I'm, marking up, or like, if it was something like I'm selling a $1 bottle of water for $1,000, then I could understand the criticism. Like, oh, you're price gouging. I'm literally selling something that there's a finite amount of. It's just my one-on-one time. It's like I'm doing it with people. It's not like I'm not selling you a video. Like at the bottom here, I have a workshop. This workshop I probably could have sold as like a $5,000 course, hour-and-a-half long workshop. The amount of time and money I spent on this, and the amount of money that it's probably worth, and the amount of money the information that's contained within has helped me make, I could have sold this as a course.
Yeah.
And I chose not. I just gave it away for free.
So and it's like if you want to work with me one-on-one. Yeah. And bro, I mean, especially with content, the amount of people that I see, like they'll do a podcast for years, and there's one or two variables they need to tweak to have 10 times the results, whether it's the thumbnail, the title, the back end. And they just don't know that, bro. Like, yeah. So I agree. That's why I mentioned that, because I've sold info in the past. And even if people didn't get a return, like I had a guarantee and I refunded tons of people. Bro, I even took massive L's. Like I ran a TikTok shop offer last year where I thought it was a cool opportunity. Like my audience comes in, I've gotten billions of views with short form. I've generated a lot of money with it. I'm going to teach you and then I'm going to partner with like the brands and we're going to make money together. And it didn't work out. And so some people didn't make money with it. Some people did. I had to refund a lot of people. I had to pay salespeople out of that cut. And so I would end up taking, you know, bigger losses than what they even paid. Like, and so, you know, that put me in a bit of a hole, but, you know, I stuck to my word on it. And,
Yep. I mean, this is the nature of being an entrepreneurial person, right? Is like especially if you're trying to do something that actually does provide value to people and does right by people and isn't a scam, is like you have to still deal with the same criticism as though you were scamming, and then the added difficulty of doing something that's legitimate and actually requires work. You know, it's almost like I almost might as well have been scamming for all the people that are saying that you're scamming. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know, because they can't
And
even
I
tell
mean,
the
this is
difference.
yeah, this is you know, I've had L's too. You know, I maybe I don't know how many months ago this was. I thought, you know what? I'm finally gonna offer like a one-on-one consulting service for people who have friends and relatives in MLMs and don't know how to sort of deal with these situations, like don't know how to approach those conversations. And I thought this would be something that a lot of people would be interested in as a service because I get DMs about it almost every day. I've built my whole platform on being the MLM guy, and I launched it, and the demand just wasn't there. And it sort of took me some time to realize, like, you know, this is something people want, but it's not an urgent enough problem that people will pay for it. It's almost like having a relative who's a drug addict. Yes, family will pay to put them in a rehab or something, but it has to get really bad before it gets to that. And a lot of people who are addicts, you know, alcoholics or whatever, they can hide it pretty well. You know, they can hide it usually for a long time pretty well. And so when it comes to MLMs, these people are destroying their finances and becoming a different person. A lot of times to their family and friends, it appears outwardly, or it can appear outwardly as a positive change they're making because they don't see the money being lost, but they do see this increased focus on being outgoing and speaking and you know, dressing nicely and positive mindset and affirmations. Of course, it's all an illusion, and then eventually it comes crashing down along with their mental health. But you know, because of that, I realized that my offer wasn't so urgent, and so I had made like a free ebook guide on strategies, and I gave it away for free. I was like, I'm just keep putting this out for free, and if people want to talk to me, they can book a one-on-one call with me. But I realized that the content mission to monetization site that I just showed is a more compelling offer because it's actually helping you to add something rather than selling you on the removal of a negative, right? Like for example, a doctor. You'll pay to go to the doctor, but it's not something you want to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, I guess it was kinda like that. It was kind of a hard sell, but hey, that's the game. That's the nature of the game. At least I'm trying, you know? For years, I felt, like, self-conscious about even selling something because I was like, "Oh, but I'm the scam guy, you know, the anti-scam guy. Everybody's gonna think that I'm being a hypocrite if I sell anything," and so but it's like, you know, it's just ignorance at that point.
Yeah, it makes sense. So is PBD still running this offer today, or did he shut it down?
With PHP,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I'm not actually sure how to answer that because if we go here onto PHP's website, okay, PHP agency, it still will show if you go look at hold on, where leadership, it still shows Patrick Bet-David as the founder and CEO. But he has done videos and has talked constantly about selling his company for $350 million. And so uh my best guess is that it was probably like a partial acquisition, you know,
Mm.
like um you know, here it says PHP and Integrity Company. The irony again.
Huh.
PHP, it was purchased by another, I believe, holding company called Integrity Marketing or Integrity, and they own other insurance companies as well, if I am not mistaken. And one of them is PHP. And so I do think it's a like a partial acquisition where, you know, if you have a business that's making you a lot of money, you're not just going to sell it. You know, that's just something that annoys me too about these course seller guys like Iman Gadzi and them. Iman Gadzi, how many times has he done a video where he's like, I was making so much money off my agency and then I shut it down to do this? It's like, what are you talking about? Why
Yeah,
would you
you
shut it down?
yeah. Yeah, like I have an
So,
agency and I pretty much systemized it. Like even if it's making 5, 10K a month, I wouldn't shut it down because I built the system
right,
so it runs. And maybe I have to check
right.
in whatever once a week. And these guys know how to
Yeah.
systemize stuff too. Like they're not idiots.
Yeah. And so that's my best understanding of it, is that he probably did like a partial acquisition where he got however much money to sell maybe 49% of it or 51% of it or something like that. Um, he this is just my understanding, that he sold his company the same way he owns the New York Yankees. You know, if you go to his Instagram bio, PBD Instagram, if you go to his bio, it says in his bio, NY Yankees owner is the top thing. Now, you and me seeing that, you would think he's the owner of the New York Yankees. But you could be an owner. Do you get what I mean? Like if you own stock in if you own 1% stock in the Yankees, technically you're an owner of the New York Yankees. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
So,
sense.
but even then, so anyways, I'm just bringing this up to make the point that the same way he's an NY Yankees owner is the same way that I think he sold his company. That it's like it's a partial thing. I think he is still involved, and you know, he still has made pretty recent references to his insurance company. So yeah, that's my understanding. And then there's one other thing I wanted to show you here too that I thought you'll find interesting regarding PHP, is on their website here. Let me bring this up. On their website here, this is from 2021. PHP agency publishes 2021 DEI transparency report. So this is something that I found pretty hypocritical and incongruous with Patrick Bet-David and his political talking points. You talked earlier about how you don't like how he's always pushing like division, and I see this too. You know, he has very strong like conservative views on like immigration, Muslims, etc. And yet his own company here in 2021 is boasting about how in the 2021 year, 42% of their recruiter base, their agents, was Hispanic or Latino, 53% was women, 32% was Black or African American, only 13% white or Caucasian, 11% other.
Wow.
And then it says sexual orientation. While the company does not specifically survey LGBTQ plus out of respect for personal privacy, the company is proud to recognize multiple teams led by self-identified members of this important community. Does this sound like a Patrick Bet-David company to you? So, this to me is just sort of like, I've said before about Patrick that I don't think he actually believes anything. I think he believes, or at least projects to believe, or says that he believes whatever's gonna be beneficial for him at that moment. He's a Republican and he likes Trump because Trump's the thing right now. You know, he's in his DEI report, he's a big fan of Hispanic women and LGBT community because that's what the, DEI report needs to say so that they can have an acquisition from a big company. You know, they need to check the boxes. That's what I think.
Interesting.
He even doubles down on this further in his DJ Vlad interview with Patrick Bet-David, where he talks. There's one clip from it. Don't subject yourself to this one. Patrick Bet-David tells his life story. Just a yap fest. Where is it? Patrick Bet-David, Latino women. Here, this video right here. It's literally called Patrick Bet-David, I built my insurance empire by hiring young Latina girls. So, he's proud of this fact. He's proud of this fact that he hired them. I can't say for certain if any of these people were like illegal. What did we drop off?
No, like, bro, ow, the sound effects, dude. Every time I hit the Vine boom and it kept going off. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I've heard people speculate, but of course I can't. I'm not alleging that any of these people are illegal or anything like that. But I just find it interesting that Patrick Bet-David has these very strong views about immigration, and then literally on the other hand, his company that he
Was built off
benefited
of it, yeah.
off of was built off of it, built off of,
Immigrants
Presumably
paying their
immigrants,
last
you know.
dollars. Yeah, it's extremely ironic. I think a good
Yeah.
comparison to make to Patrick Bet David's come up would be like to the streaming space would be someone like Neon, where all of his money is built on streaming himself gambling, which is the most garbage, ridiculous content in the world. You've done
Uh,
some stuff with CoffeeZilla. I don't know if you have looked much into the gambling businesses and whatnot, but then they take all of that money, funnel it into bots for their streams to put on a fake perception that they're bigger than they are, and then hundreds of thousands of dollars a month into paying clippers. So they get the brand awareness so people think they're popular. Meanwhile, on their actual content, whether it's Instagram likes or stream views, it's all a facade. So
I
it's
see. Okay. Right.
you see the comparison there?
Right. So then it's basically like what we discussed before with the whole fake it till you make it thing, where you project this idea of being like a successful, in this case, streamer to the point that you actually kind of are, but it's built on, it's sort of the same thing with the Spotify streaming controversies that some artists have, where there's speculation that like a huge artist, for example, had 100 million fake streams. Well, what's 100 million fake streams to an artist that's actually getting a billion? And like it doesn't actually hurt to sprinkle that in there. But in this case, what you're talking about with Neon is that he supposedly started out with most of them being fake until people thought he was legit.
Yeah,
Then
and
he did have real people. Okay, I see.
exactly. Well, and like also the seed aspect of it. Neon Seed is gambling streams, which is a vice. It's deceptive. It's an evil way to make money. And then Patrick Bet David Seed was making money off of immigrants and, scamming people essentially.
MLM, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Even is that the case with Clavicular as well? He does the gambling streams as well?
Yeah, yeah. Same
Uh,
stuff.
yeah. See, my understanding with the gambling streams is like they're not actually spending their own money, right?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on this. I watched a video a while ago, but they basically get a budget to play with and then they get a monthly retainer to gamble.
Right. That's my understanding as well.
And it's
And I
the
used to work in a
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you used to work in a casino?
Yeah, I used to work in a casino, so I am aware that for like the high roller players who are bringing a lot of action to the casino, they will offer things like that. But go ahead.
Um Yeah, I was gonna say it's just the worst content ever. Like, if you see what they do to make such an absurd amount of money, you don't need a book to tell you it's evil. You don't need a holy book to tell you what they're doing is wrong. I mean, let's say you have 100,000 followers, an Instagram reel, depending on your niche, would be what, $1,000 to $3,000. You get paid $20,000 for pushing gambling, and then the video also does a fraction of the views you're normally getting. And then when these guys are gambling, like there's not that many people watching them, but because they're preying on someone's vice, the company makes so much more money, so they're able to pay such ridiculous amounts to influencers. So
I see. Very interesting. Yeah, there's another podcaster, I guess, and I guarantee you've seen his clips. I'm not going to name him here, but he had reached out to me on his platform, which is a very large platform, and I got a DM from him like last year being like, "Hey, we'd love to have you on the show." So they send me a Google form to fill out to be on the show, and at the very bottom it's like, "By the way, we charge you a $6,000 fee to be on the platform." So my
I
understanding
know
of
who you're
this
talking
too,
about. Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, so I even seen Baller Busters, the Instagram page Baller Busters had posted about them, or actually it wasn't them, it was Goob U2 on Instagram had posted about them before. How it's like it's sort of doing this same fake it till you make it thing where they have a bunch of fake followers and fake views and bot views, and then because they have that, they are now selling gullible people on the perception that they have a lot of views, so it's worth $6,000 to pay to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of that, they have somehow actually landed like pretty big guests where they have had episodes that have got a lot of views. So now it's like, again, it's this self-fulfilling thing where, yeah, now you actually are a legit podcast with real guests, but you built it off of, lying and having a bunch of nobodies on the show that paid $6,000 to be there so
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
could
It's
book
botted. Yeah, yeah.
whoever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Which, you don't need to do that. Anybody watching this, you don't need to do this stuff. Like, especially over this last year, I've had really good growth on my Instagram, and I'm still doing all the clips and stuff like by myself. And that's something that I should probably talk to you about as well, because I'm sure I could be doing it in a more efficient way and getting help with that rather than doing
Yeah, for
everything
sure.
myself. But yeah, so but yeah, you guys don't need to be doing all this really. Like if you I know a lot of your audience is Muslim, right? And so there's a big emphasis on like halal, being halal. So, you know, eh, trust me, I know the allure can feel strong to like take a shortcut or be a little bit scammy, but it's just not worth it. Don't do it.
Yeah, and it's like, do you really want to get a million views doing something you're not proud of? Like, even if you get that result, it's still not worth it. But this is a little bit
No,
off
no.
topic, but because we're talking about PBD and he pushes so much hate against Muslims and he has a boomer audience, so it kind of just feeds into their hatred. Like, what's your experience been with Muslims as a Lebanese Christian, and like, do you think that Muslims are a problem in America?
Hmm. Well, I mean, you're free to it's not off topic. You can ask me about anything. I mean, it's a reasonable segue. I think it's ironic for Patrick Bet David, who's literally from a Muslim country, and your name is Patrick Bet David, and you still somehow struggle with English despite having been here for, longer than I've been alive. I think it's kind of ironic on his part. He strikes me. I actually posted this meme. I don't know who made this. I saw it in my Instagram comments one day. Maybe you've seen this. And I was like, this is literally Patrick Bet David. This is the best. This is the best example that I can think of
Let me
Patrick Bet
see.
David. It's just him looking in the mirror and he sees like a white conservative, like, like this is who he wants to be.
This is like the whole red pill white supremacist movement too.
Yes.
Everyone in the
Or
current
like
red
what
pill white supremacist movement, none of them are even white. I'm whiter than every single one of them.
yeah, yeah. Like what's it called? What does Nico say? Skin worshippers?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I think, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. But funny enough, I've been accused of that as well, of like wanting to be white because I'm often in conversations with friends and family of mine. I do come to the defense of white people overall in many situations or conversations regarding like immigration or just demographics changing globally. Um, but let me not get away from your question here. What do I think about the hatred or the division that Patrick Bet David sows towards Muslims? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Also, there's one thing too. You said as a Lebanese Christian, I'm actually not Christian. Um, my family is predominantly Druze, Druze. I want to be clear that the word I'm saying is not Jews. I'm saying Druze, which is a much smaller religious group, and they're basically like an ethno religion, if my understanding is correct, where you can't convert into it. You
Mm.
can't become Druze.
I've never heard of it.
You're yeah, Druze. It's a very small diaspora. I think it's like a million. How many people are? How many Druze people? How many Druze in the world?
1 to
A
1.2
million.
million. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an extremely small group. But then again, my grandmother was Christian. I have relatives who have converted to Islam, or I guess they say reverted to Islam. So I have kind of got the gamut of um, religion exposure to religions growing up. I've have relatives who are Christian, relatives who are Druze, relatives who are atheist, relatives who are Muslim. I myself, I'm non-religious. I'm not religious at all. Um, but I think when it comes to Patrick, not only is it a great irony that he is himself like from a Muslim country, and he was even I roasted him for going on the Jack Neal podcast recently and talking about how they were asking me to be the leader of the Shah, be the leader of Iran if I was interested in like running to be the leader of Iran, and it's like, dude, you would you want to be the leader of you would even consider being the leader of a country. Obviously, this is made up nonsense, but let's just humor him. You would entertain the idea of being the leader of a country where you, as a baseline, don't like most of the people. Like, what are you what are you talking about? Um, so uh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm. There was another part to your question. What do I think about the Muslim? What did you ask me? What do I think about the Muslim? What?
Like, basically, are Christians and Muslims enemies, bro? Like they're constantly trying to push this,
Oh,
and a big part of like what we say is there's no need for Christians and Muslims to be enemies. Like, basically all the morals are the same. Both believe in Jesus, both believe in Mary. Like, the commonalities definitely don't get as much light shown on them as, the differences. And most of the differences are
Definitely
even
not.
portrayed as lies. Like, I'm sure you know this, bro. A lot of
Yes,
people just
yes,
haven't
yes.
met Muslims, bro. That's what it really comes down to, is it's a battle of ignorance, where a lot of people watch someone like PBD who puts himself as an authority to talk about it because his family's from Iran, or they watch Fox News or, the typical Yahud-owned industries, and they just repeat those same talking points rather than basing anything off of personal experience.
Well, they're definitely not enemies. I think that's obvious to anyone. And, at this point, people have woken up to the fact that there is one party that is determined to make everybody else beef with each other. They're
Yeah.
determined to make black hate white and white hate black and Muslim hate Christian, when really the only division that there should be is at a class level. There should be only maybe you would call it the Epstein class to get more specific. There should really only be, you know, all of us down here,
And
and
fingers
then the
pointed up to
mega.
them. Yeah.
Exactly. It should, and we standing down here are of all colors and creeds, and that's the way it should be. Have you ever actually watched a religious debate between two people? It just always devolves into nonsense. Oh, well, your book says this. Yeah, well, your book says the same thing. Or that's a mistranslation, or that's taken out of context, or that was revised in the later version, and on and on and on. Nobody gets anywhere. Oh, your book believes that a virgin woman gave birth. That can't happen. Well, your book believes that somebody flew to heaven on a winged horse, and your book. Okay, so how about this? How about, instead of even engaging in all of this nonsense, we just acknowledge, like, the reality. Like, this is what they want. They want us to be sitting here arguing drivel about, you know, whose book is more legitimate.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
Maybe we'll
personally not
never.
a big fan of the debate scene. Um, I think that there's a lot of insincerity that comes into it. A lot of people do it for clout and attention, not necessarily to do it for the sake of pleasing their creator. And especially nowadays with like the Christian apologists and stuff, it's even worse because it's the same people debating the same topics over and over and over again, and on very
Yes.
minute things too. So
Yes. You asked me too about, I don't want to misquote you. Maybe I would have to rewind a few seconds, but you said, do I think there is, I don't want to misquote you, but do I think there is like a Muslim, what do I think of the Muslim presence in the US, or do
yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's a Muslim problem in the US? You
yeah,
asked me
pretty
about that.
much, yeah.
Um, it's really interesting. There's a saying, a friend of everyone is a friend of no one. And that's really not the stance that I try to take. I'm not trying to be like a fence sitter. I have very strong convictions and views. But I feel like I guess I'm worried that people won't take the time to appreciate the nuance of what I'm trying to say when I talk about these types of discussions. But forgive me while I try to make my point here. I watched a video the other day from a guy, Nate Friedman. Are you familiar with Nate Friedman?
I've heard of him before, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that Nate Friedman, from what I can tell, is like one of these Zionist Jews who's intent on like demonizing Muslims. And he did a video about Dearborn. And I know that's where you went as well, for your documentary as well, right?
Yeah.
So it was basically like, the Tyler Oliveira video he did in Curious Joel, where he was talking about the welfare addicted Jews, and then there was another Jewish creator who made a video showing the good side of it. It was sort of like that, and the funny thing about it is, actually, here's an even better example. Okay, you know the guy on TikTok who he's the Palestinian guy who does the like, it's
Omegle.
like Omegle,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Hamza.
with the
Yeah,
Israelis.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's the one I'm thinking, right? With the Israelis.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows how crazy they are, right?
Yeah, of course.
So there's another guy, I forget his name, but he's a Jewish guy. He's a white Jewish guy. He has an Israel flag behind him. He's doing the same thing, except he's baiting Omegle. He's like trying to purposely find Muslims on Omegle, as far as I can tell, so that he can confront them with passages of their book and show how indefensible it is. And it's funny when I watch a Nate Friedman video where he's talking about the Muslim presence in Dearborn. When I watch that Jewish guy, baiting Muslims on Omegle, and when I watch your video about Dearborn, and when I watch the Palestinian guy Hamza's videos where he's baiting the Israelis, I think everyone is right. I think everyone is correct. So, um, what I mean by this is like the pendulum always swings too far the other way. There's always an overcorrection in society. So remember how it was like, um, there was a big push. I guess you're a bit younger than me, but there was a big push, especially when I was in like high school, where it was like boss babe, new wave feminism, gay marriage had just become legal, and it was this whole like very liberal, very left-leaning political zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this overcorrection where after Obama, we got the exact opposite of Obama. We got Trump. Then after Trump, we got the exact opposite of Trump again. We got Joe Biden. Then we got the opposite. So it's like we're going from one extreme to another. It's almost like when you're driving and it's an icy road and you start to swerve, but rather than just gently readjust,
Swerve to the
you
far
jerk
other
the wheel.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you overcorrect, and that's what leads to the accidents. And so I see somebody like Nate Friedman, and I look at his video almost as a direct challenge to your video that you did about Dearborn, because you're showing the good side. He's almost purposely trying to frame it as a negative thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like, yeah, but he's also not the solution. Like he's one of these Zionist guys who's trying to maintain the status quo of the establishment, and I also don't think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But do I think that the pendulum should be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum? No, I don't. So, I'll say, every single person that I have had interactions with, whether they're Christian or Muslim or Jewish, every person that I've personally met that has that religion is part of their life, they've used religion to be a better person, and they've been better people because of it. That said, the nuance there is that I still do think that there is merit and there is validity to criticizing, like in Dearborn, for example, the um, disproportionate presence of one religious group. And it's not because of their religion or because of anything they believe, but because, I'm just looking at demographics globally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Italian, right? You're
Yeah.
like, yeah. If you look at the entire white diaspora, if you want to call it that. Everybody who you could consider white, even Italians who didn't used to be considered white. But
Yep.
if you want to consider Italians white, like most people would consider you to be white,
Yeah.
even if 100 years ago they would have not. Okay. Every person who is white, from Russians to Italians to Slavs to Nordics to Swedish to you name it, this is less than 10% of the global population. There is more than 50 Muslim countries the last time I checked. I think that it is in the interest of diversity and in the interest of preservation for each place to remain its own place. In the Nate Friedman video I watched about Dearborn, he was showing how in a Home Depot that the secondary language on the signs was Arabic. Okay? I don't think that's a good thing. I think that in an American city, they should stick to what the American national languages are, which is English and Spanish. And before anybody comes for me, I would also demand that in a Muslim country, they don't compromise and start adding Russian if a bunch of Russians move there. And what really sort of cemented me on this perspective was when I was living in Asia, specifically in Thailand. Thailand is one of the most diverse places on the planet. If you go to a city like Bangkok, you'll see people from all walks of life, all countries, all religions. But make no mistake, Thailand is Thai first. We say America first. Thailand is truly Thai first. As a foreigner, you can't just go buy land there. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to let you. You need to have like a Thai business partner who owns 51% or something like that. Or you can get a long term lease, but you can't own. It's virtually impossible to become a citizen. If you go to one of their temple, holy sites and you're a foreigner, you have to pay money. But if you're a local Thai person, which they can just look at you and tell, you go in for free. So there are ways that they discriminate against foreigners, but it's for the sake of preserving their own culture and not being washed away by another. This is the true like standing up for diversity in my opinion, because I grew up loving the fact that I had friends who were Chinese and Filipino and black and Indian and Muslim and Christian. I loved it. what I don't want is like you see in Canada now, where we have a disproportionate amount of Indian people. You know, I'm not saying I don't want any diversity, but it's not really diversity if you're just being taken over by one group. And when you have to sort of consider in the calculus of immigration that the immigrants who are coming in, are they having more children than your own local population is? What's the downstream effect of that 50 years from now or 100 years from now? Like, you know, you know this. Muslim families, they have a lot of kids,
Hmm.
more than white people. You know, growing up, if you saw a white family with 4 kids, uh, that was like, whoa, that's a lot of kids. I went to I went to junior high with a girl. Her family was from Ghana. They were Muslim. 8 kids.
Yeah.
I played hockey with 2 boys growing up, 2 brothers, 7 kids in their family. You know? So even just that, um, you know, you have to take into consideration. So I think, you know, I'm not against immigration. I don't want anyone to take this as like I'm against Muslims. I'm against anybody. I don't think that there should be a Jewish majority Jewish town where everybody's living off welfare, like in the Tyler Oliveira video. I also don't think there should be a city in the United States of America that's so predominantly Arab or Muslim that they have Arabic language on the signs. I also don't think that should be the case. You know, I'm not. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I get,
I hope you can
I do. No,
appreciate.
I get what you're saying, and I appreciate you sharing your perspective, and I do think you're sincere and unbiased for sure. There's multiple things that you mentioned that I could talk about, but
Yeah.
I think to go back to what you were saying with watching different people's content, everyone's kind of right. I agree and I disagree because I get the perspective that like if you go somewhere, you kind of get what you're looking for, and it's pretty easy to twist a narrative into a documentary if you're filming a bunch of content and you're cutting it up. I like
Yep.
to think that we went into Dearborn very unbiased, which might not sound realistic, but you know, we showed like the good and the bad. Like we showed women in hijab serving pork, for example. I don't know if you watched the documentary.
Yep. Yeah, I watch it. Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so like we showed women in hijabs serving pork, right? Which is going against their religion, and I'm technically sinning by even showing them sinning. We saw strip clubs on the main road, like, and then we also pointed out the hypocrisy of, you know, people are mad about this. There's an Arabic grocery store, but then literally a mile away there's a Korean grocery store, and then another mile away there's a Spanish grocery store. So
Mhm.
we were basically just pointing out the hypocrisy of there being a spotlight on this community, but not on any of the others, if that makes sense. And then we didn't twist any
Yeah.
narratives. Like basically every place we went, we used footage from it. Like we didn't really cut anything disingenuously or nothing. Whereas a lot of these other, you know, so-called journalists will go and they'll twist stories. Like
Hmm.
even the call to prayer, for example, like it has to follow city ordinance laws, just like anything else. If Fajr, you know, the morning prayer is before the time that's allowed to have, you know, outside noise, they're not allowed to play it. And it still has to be under a certain decibel level. And they don't even play it out loud, right? So yeah, I do get what you're saying. And I get a lot of people's frustrations with their demographic changing, especially in Canada. I mean, to my understanding, Toronto is like basically majority Indian now, from what I've been hearing from friends.
Right. Well, I mean, you don't even have to go that far. I'm in Western Canada, and last year, or maybe it was late 2024, I took a flight just from Alberta to British Columbia. It's one province away. Okay, and the plane like announcement that they give you before the plane was in English, French, and some Indian language, Punjabi or whatever language they speak.
Mm,
I'm like, why is the announcement on a domestic flight from one Western Canadian province to the next adjacent one over? It's a 1 hour long flight, not even. It's like a 40-minute flight. Why are they doing this in Hindi or Punjabi or whatever this is?
yeah,
That's not right.
that's insane, bro. That's
This
absolutely
is
insane.
Canada. This is Canada. We speak English and French here, you know? And by the way, I'm an equally critical of people who take this mentality other places. When I was in Thailand, I recognized that I am the falang. I am the foreigner. Okay? You see Americans there in a restaurant in Thailand, they're like, "Hello, does anyone speak English here?" And it's like, "You idiot. You're the foreigner here."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
God forbid you have to take out Google Translate and use Google Translate that takes 2 seconds to use. You know, they already cater, these Asian countries already cater so much to Western visitors because tourism is such an important part of their
Yeah, for
economy.
economic
That in
purposes, of course, yeah.
Yeah. in Thailand, the signs are already in English as a secondary language, and most people already have a basic, even the locals have at least a basic understanding of English. Hello, how are you? My name is this. Do the Americans that go there even bother? I met Americans who had been there 15 years that didn't speak a word of Thai. To me,
Hmm.
that's ignorant. You are the foreigner. Even like foreigners that go from a Western country, what do they call themselves? Expats. I'm an expat. But if someone came from name any country to their country, they'd call them an immigrant. So it's like rules for thee, not for me. And I don't like it. I don't like supremacy of any kind, whether it's white supremacy, Jewish supremacy, Muslim supremacy. I think that we should all be accommodating and fair and loving to each other. What I don't like is people going to another land that is not their native country, where they don't look like the people there, where they don't speak the language, where they don't practice the customs, and then demanding that it change to fit them and their worldview. That's not right, whether it's white people doing it or Muslim people doing it. And, the reason it's personally such a bother to me is because, growing up, my parents came to Canada because Israel was bombing Lebanon in the 1980. You can look up the 1982 Israeli invasion of Lebanon.
Hmm.
That was why a lot of, my friends and relatives and their parents, that's why they came to Canada. And when they did, Farid became Fred and Salim became Sam, on and on and on. And Muhammad became Mo, and on and on. And they assimilated. They lost their accents. They contributed to the economy. They paid their taxes. They worked in the, honorable businesses, and they spoke the language, and they were Canadian. They became Canadian. They didn't come over here and start demanding that things change for them. And when I was a kid, mind you, I was in first grade when 9/11 happened. So I felt it from a young age, the propaganda, how all of a sudden all the villains in the movies became people that looked like me. Even
Hmm.
think Iron Man 1. In Iron Man 1, he gets kidnapped by the 10 rings. He's in the desert, and they're all like, Wallahi, wallahi, Habibi, yalla. And it's like, okay, we're creating this Arab boogeyman, this Muslim boogeyman. Like, all the movies did
Yeah,
it.
and fun.
Even
Even
like,
the CIA was actually involved in that. I'm sure you've looked into that too,
of course,
where they
of
they
course,
were
of course.
involved in the back end with a lot of the scripts and the production to push certain narratives.
Yep, yep, of course. Even there was like, Sacha Baron Cohen realizing that he was a psyop too, like the movie The Dictator,
Yeah,
or like
even like
even,
Don't Mess with the Zohan with Adam Sandler.
yep,
I mean,
yep.
I remember here like when I would hear stuff like is Israel a country or not? When I first heard that, or like Israel doesn't shouldn't exist, I was just like what? Like what kind
Hmm.
of that's such a weird question to ask. There's no other country you say Lebanon shouldn't exist, China shouldn't
Right,
exist. It was only with
right.
Israel. And that's because with the media and Hollywood, they were so smart about the way they put the brand awareness out there. They didn't shove it down your throat. They just casually mentioned Israel, IDF, the Israeli Special Forces in movies. So subconsciously, you mixed it in with any other country. And then it was really hard to find the history of Israel. Like I remember even when October 7th
That's
happened,
right.
I struggled with coming to the truth. Because I mean, back then it was much more suppressed too. With looking it up on YouTube, all the top, 100 videos would be those big channels that are controlled with professional graphics.
Right.
Here's what's going on, and it's a very complicated situation. Like,
Hmm.
so they
They
made
were
it
always
hard.
being they were always being complimentary and whitewashing it towards the favor of Israel. Now that's changed, of course, um, but yeah, I was just gonna say there too, like when I was a kid and I was seeing all of this propagandizing in the media, and every Arab was a bad guy and every villain in every movie. It would have been like being a Russian in America in the 80s. Every bad guy was Russian, and then it changed, and every bad guy was Arab. And then Iron
Yeah,
Man
yeah,
one, the
yeah, yeah,
gang, the gang that kidnaps him is the Ten Rings. Then
yeah.
fast forward when remember they did the Shang-Chi movie. Now all of a sudden the Ten Rings was Chinese. But in Iron Man 1, the 10 rings was Arabs, right? So, and what was going on when Shang-Chi came out? COVID, China, that was our enemy in 2021 was China, right? So, anyways, I bring all this up to say that, like, as a kid, I recognized that my family had come here, that we were the strangers, we were the foreigners. Most of my classmates were white. I only speak English. I don't speak Arabic. I spoke English growing up. All of my friends, regardless of where they and their parents were from, they spoke English. If you
Yeah.
talk to them on the phone, if you talk to Rajiv on the phone, you wouldn't know what he was because we all just spoke perfect English, right? And so I recognized that I was the other, and I felt a great responsibility to act in such a way with respect and decorum and, politeness so that I could combat the preconceived judgments that people had about me from the media,
Yeah.
that they thought, oh, Arabs are this or that. And now I feel more, I guess, empathy with the white people because I feel that the immigrants, many of whom are coming in today, don't have that same level of humility and feeling like I need to assimilate. As a matter of fact, they think that they should be able to come here and overstay their student visa and that they're being robbed of some
Sovereignty.
privilege,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, some right that they have to stay here beyond the time that they're supposed to be here. And then there's enclaves, communities where it's like all Indian, all the signs are Indian, walk around, nobody speaks English, and they don't have to. They have a fully self-contained community. I don't think that's right. And I don't think it's right if a bunch of white people go over to Thailand and start trying to have a white only enclave where there's
Thai,
no
yeah.
Thai speakers. Keep Thai. Again, this is only a problem if you say it about an American country. If I say keep Thai for the Thais, everyone says, "Yay, you're preserving their culture." If I say keep Germany for the Germans, maybe that's a bad example. If I say keep any country for those people, keep Japan for the Japanese, everyone will say, "Yes, that's reasonable." If I say keep America English speaking, I'm not even taking away that it's a country of immigrants. It's not like an ethno state or like a Japan is it's a nationality, but it's also like an ethnicity. America is not the same. Canada is not the same. They've always been, melting pots, so to speak. At least speak English.
That's what you're saying. So like what it comes down to, and I want to wrap this up kind of soon,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what it comes down to, there's a word in Arabic like akida. I don't know if you've heard that before. So that's like
Mhm.
your core beliefs. So it's like with Islamically, it's like the beliefs in Islam where it's like a string tied around your heart. So no matter what happens, that doesn't change. So if you were to look at like America's core, it's also tough to even say what it really is at the end of the day. Because if you go back to the founding fathers, they wore feathers in their hats and they wore ridiculous outfits and women were modest and like even a lot of those initial values that were here for the first 150 years are gone, right? And one of the beautiful parts of America was that it is a melting pot. People came from all around the world to come here and start a new life. And they were brothers in being Americans, not brothers in being Italians or Irish. And of course, there was
Right.
still some segregation where it's like the Irish, even the Irish and the Italians were beefing. I talk about this example a lot because now they just seem so
Mm,
synonymous. But my
true.
great grandmother was Irish, married an Italian guy, and that was a big deal in the family. Like
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
her
yeah.
dad was pissed, and now Irish Italian, it's like you're basically marrying your same race. People just think it's the same
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
But
It was a big controversy too for my grandmother and my grandfather, being that she was Christian and he was Druze, that they were getting married because he was breaking. They were both never mind the fact that they're from the same place, they're ethnically the same, they speak the same language, they look like the same people.
yeah,
That was a big controversy because they had a different religion too. So yeah,
yeah. So it's
yeah.
interesting, bro, because what is America's core identity, right? Because from what you're saying, it's English speaking. And so my family by the way, my family went through the same thing as yours, just the generation before. Italian American immigrants came on a boat,
Hmm.
said goodbye to their family. There was no cell phones back then. Smell you later.
That's right.
See you in the next life. And then generation by generation that's gone on, yeah, we lost the Italian American, the Italian culture. It's gone from like Italian American to here I am and I'm just American. Like my parents don't speak Italian. My grandma doesn't speak Italian. And that was lost because when the Italian Americans came here, they were treated like dogs. Even like what a
That's
lot of
right.
people don't know is even Catholics were persecuted in America for a certain amount of time because they were deemed to be show more allegiance to the church than to America. So it's always the new
Right.
group that's coming in. And now I think for the first time, we're seeing people that aren't assimilating. But personally, from what I've seen, it's not the Muslims that aren't assimilating. If anything, not to point fingers, but it seems like this newer generation of Hindu Indian immigrants are the first ones that really aren't assimilating. And obviously, Chinese have Chinatown; they don't even speak a lick of English. But
That's correct. I think that's a true observation. Um, yeah, the Indians, man. We gotta reel it in, There's great Indians, of course. I grew up going to school with a lot of Indians, but it's just like I said, it's nothing like it is now. It's absolutely uh like I talked about my classmates growing up, how I was like one of the only like brown kids in the class. Now I look at my like niece's class photos and they're white passing. You know, they're mixed. They look white. If you saw them on the street, you'd be like, they're white.
Mm-hmm.
They're like they're like among the only white looking kids in their class. Almost everybody's Indian or African or Asian, mostly Indian. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's the language thing though. I think in the Nick Fried or whatever his name is, Nate Friedman video I watched, I think it was actually a Home Depot. I don't think it was like a Muslim grocery store. It would have made sense if that was an Arabic grocery store. Like, of course, there's Korean grocery stores and Arab grocery stores, so you don't want to like nitpick and be like, oh, this one's a problem and ignore the other. But if it's like a Home Depot or like for in my case that I brought up where I'm in the airport, like an federal airport, and I'm hearing Punjabi or Hindi over the intercom, that's what I mean where I'm talking about that's a criticism that I have. Is like,
No, I think
why are
I
we?
think that's a fair criticism for sure.
Yeah.
I'd
Also,
agree.
somebody in your chat is asking about the Druze that serve in the IDF. It's actually a good question, and it's something that I found out recently, and I was very appalled by. I actually went so growing up, I wasn't even aware of like this culture or religion of Druze. This is only in like the last couple of years that I'm learning about it from older relatives and stuff. I grew up completely non-religious. I went to Catholic school for a couple years in elementary, and then most of the rest of the time was public school. I never went to church. I never practiced religion of any kind. So a couple of months ago, I went to Florida, and there was this Druze like young adults event. And a family friend of mine invited me to go, and I thought, oh, it'll be cool. Maybe I'll make some friends. Maybe I'll meet a girl. You never know. And there was one guy who was on the trip with us. There was one night that it was like a yacht party that they had rented this yacht for all of us to go on. And there's one guy who came on the bus with us as we're on our way to the yacht, and we're like, "Hey, bro, how are you? Da 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 da. Where are you from?" He's like, "From Israel, bro." And we're like, "What the fuck? From Israel?" But apparently, yeah, apparently there's Druze Arabs that serve in the IDF and live in Israel, and there's unfortunately a lot of Arab Druze people who actually like love Israel and defend Israel because there's supposedly some like ancient covenant between I think Abraham or Jacob and Jethro, who is like he's like our
Prophet.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't even say. Yeah, he's like the Druze Jesus. If I'm not mistaken, it's very difficult to even learn, even for myself. They're very secretive. People ask, "What do the Druze believe?" I'm asking myself the same question, which is why I don't like identify with that. I thought it was very strange. And yeah, this guy, this Druze Arab guy, he's like, "Yeah, I love my country. I serve my country," and he's an Arab guy, and
Mm.
he's Druze, and he's talking about. So, anyways, I'm good. That's why it's like I get intrigued by different religions and I start to learn about it and then I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah. Fair enough. I never thought I'd be religious, but we don't got to get into all that and
No,
my
I mean,
reasoning for it.
no, it's interesting though, and I mean, I'm happy to have a discussion with you another time, a dedicated discussion about immigration or politics or religion, because I think we would have an interesting convo for sure.
Yeah.
But I hope I haven't offended any of your chat. I really don't mean to.
No, it
I
was a good conversation. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to have you back on, but I do got to get running, bro. I got to run some errands and
yeah, man.
stuff. But yeah,
All right,
dude,
brother.
let's chat. This is the first time we've even called before, I think, too. So it was really great to just even get the chance to speak to you. Everyone, go make sure you drop a sub on Marco's channel. He does really, really good work. And yeah, bro, I'm looking forward to that documentary you have coming out. I'm definitely gonna give that a watch.
Thank you, bro. Really appreciate it. It was good talking to you, and I'm proud of all your growth and success and the man you're becoming. So yeah, good to see, and yeah, we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, bro. Talk to you soon. Peace.
All right, man. Bye bye.
Bye. W Marco. Enjoyed that. Went a bit longer at the end, but especially the stuff about the MLMs and pyramid schemes and whatnot. That was really, really interesting for sure. I'm loving the conversation. Enjoyed it as well. No, he wasn't offensive at all. It was an interesting conversation. Got to hear different people's perspectives. It's really important. Can't just live in an echo chamber and only hear yours. And it's good to give them the chance to talk. You watched him expose PBD before? Yeah, he did a great job. Really, really good journalism. Really good videos that he makes. Been watching him for like 5 years now, so that was cool. W means win. It's like good. Man, you really aren't up to date, huh? But yeah, guys, I got to get going. I might go live again later, but I got to run some errands and stuff. before some places close, and I got to pee really bad. So no, thank you guys all for watching. What did you think of the stream? Like, for those of you that were in here, did you enjoy it? Entertaining? I was supposed to have Ali Dawa on too. I think we might do that tomorrow if we have time. I really like the way he goes about proving the existence of a creator to atheists, and that's something that I'm not the strongest on. So I wanted to talk to him and get some advice about how to go about it in the future. Interesting, great stream. W.